Hey everyone, and welcome back to Fearless and Undefined. And on this episode of Super Queens, our very special guest is actually someone who I've just recently met, but we have a very long year together. And I'm so excited that I got to have her on today because without knowing it, the reason we clicked so well is because we shared a couple of things in common. And so I'm really looking forward to all of y'all getting to meet her, know her, and love her. And let's go and see if she is ready. Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So, hey everyone, my name is Ada Alford. I'm your Miss Texas Ultimate USA teen. I grew up with dyslexia and wasn't diagnosed with dysgraphia and ADHD until going into my junior year of high school. I founded my platform Turn the Page because of my experiences and volunteering with kids in underprivileged communities. So, Turn the Page, my platform, is dedicated to bringing awareness and resources to low income communities because of my experiences. Um, and it actually also inspired me to want to study speech and language pathology to help children like me who have learning differences and have stutters to be more empowered with themselves and be able to speak up for what they need.
I love that. So I heard you say that the dyslexia and dysgraphia was officially diagnosed later in life. When did your family notice the stutter start to appear?
It was more of me who brought it up, especially in
Okay.
grade school. So I started noticing around the time that I was kind of growing up into a woman that I was incredibly nervous. And when I was incredibly nervous, I started to stumble over my words. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And finally, because of speech specialists and my learning specialists, when I got my confidence back and learned how to slow down, I was able to, for the most part, get overcome my stutter. But it does eventually appear every once in a while when I'm nervous or in tense situations. So it's just remembering that I have to stay calm and breathe, and that's how I manage it for the most part.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine. Personally, having dyslexia and dysgraphia, I didn't officially get my diagnosis until I can't say I graduated high school. It was summer going into senior year. It was COVID.
Yeah.
Every year I was tested and I tested 1 or 2 points below what the school would recognize officially. And so I never got like any kind of help. And then during COVID, my mom was like, let's just get outside testing, see what happens. And the lady was like, why has this never been officially diagnosed? This is awful. And I was like, oh, glad to know that, schools, they just, it's irritating. They get like, they're only allowed a certain number of kids who
Yep.
they'll acknowledge have it. And I'm like, well, what about the other kids who aren't hitting that kind of criteria and they just have to struggle? Like, it's not fair most of the
Yeah.
time.
So it's
So,
actually funny, like you say that. I was tested 3 times before I got
really,
officially diagnosed. So it took because I
oh,
got like 30s on my spelling test when I was a kid, and my parents were
nice.
like, obviously something's not right.
Hmm.
And so we had to do school testing twice, and then I finally got an outside similarly, and she was like, "What in the hell is going on here?"
Yeah, for me, it was my freshman year English teacher who I was in a higher end program. It wasn't AP, it was called IB. But my teacher, my English teacher of all people, looked at me, and when she met my mom during like Meet the Parents or whatever, she was like, there's something going on. If you can get her tested outside of the school, I think it'll be a tremendous help. Something needs to change. She's brilliant, but she just needs a little extra help. And that was the first
Yeah.
time that I actually had a teacher kind of acknowledge that I needed some kind of help and that I wasn't just dumb. Because most of the teachers
Yeah.
that dealt with me and knew that I had dyslexia and dysgraphia were just like, she's too much trouble. And I'm like, y'all, I'm just as smart as the person sitting next to me. It may just take me a little bit longer.
Exactly. I definitely feel that.
So, all of this together, how had it affected your schooling knowing that you got diagnosed way later in life?
Well, thankfully, with my dyslexia, I was diagnosed pretty early around second grade. Now, with the other two things, it did pose some problems. But with my dyslexia, I always felt very introverted because even when I was tested, it was very hard for me to speak up and say, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. And it was thankfully because of my parents, I was able to get that help and they were able to speak up for me. But it took me, I mean, up until my sophomore year of high school to really say, like, this is what I need. I need help. Um, and when I was finally diagnosed with dysgraphia, which I had had a feeling I had for a very long time, I'm sure you know when you have the chicken scratch handwriting and your teachers are like, what is this?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a little discouraging every once in a while, but I thankfully had already had like handwriting accommodations and was able to use my laptop on essays. So really that transition wasn't too bad, but I mean, I was discouraged for a very long time knowing that I was incredibly good at math, but with English, it would just take me so much longer to do. And now I'm very grateful that I was in an environment that pushed me because I'm currently doing an English college class online and it feels a lot easier knowing the skills and my ability to connect with the teacher is a lot better than most kids.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think most people like dismiss dyslexia as just being like, oh, you mix up your B's and your P's or your B's and your D's. But it is so much more to everyone. Like, it can look very different. Like, for me, it's more so it kind of looks like the words are kind of like boinging around on a page. And we tried so many different things to try and help it. But ultimately, in the end, it's just hard. So, like, for me, audiobooks are the best thing in the world. I had a very intensive English class in high school that we had to read books, and it was like a shorter time frame than I could physically read and then like
Mhm.
books start to end. And so we had the accommodation for me, at least for me to have audiobooks for everything.
Yep.
And the crazy thing though was that was the one English class that I excelled in because we didn't have tests or exams or quizzes. We had discussions. And so there were so many times that my teacher would just be like, Cheyenne, I need you to just shush, stop talking, give other people a chance. Because that's my thing. I can talk about a subject, especially if I'm passionate about it. But putting a piece of paper in front of me and saying circle A, B, C, D, that's when like,
Yep.
oof, yeah, it can
So
be rough.
actually, oh no, I 100% feel you. And I actually had that experience in my religion class. So I went to second grade to 12th grade, a Catholic school. And in eighth grade, I can vividly remember my religion teacher, Miss Tomset, gave us a book. And I am a World War II history buff. I love everything about it. But I've like, asked me a question and I probably know it. And she gave us a book called Hiroshima and made us read it. Well, I am also audiobooks, but I can't take a test. It is so hard for me. Well, she gets the first test back and it's a 32. She's like, this makes no sense. So pulls me outside and she's like, we're just gonna talk over the test. We talk over it, and she's like, we're just gonna do audio test from now on because for whatever reason, your knowledge is not translating over into the page. And we had probably about 5 tests on that book, and every single one I got 100 on because I love the book. I just couldn't sit down and put the
It's
thoughts
the
to the paper.
brain to hand to paper translation that
It's weird.
there's some it's like there's a wire that's kind of just like and it's just not
Sometimes it hits. Yeah.
yeah. Oh my god, I knew there was a reason we clicked somewhere. We've gone through a lot of the same stuff without even knowing
Yeah.
it. I love it. So I know that you started pageants later in life. Is there times that either the stutter or dyslexia has affected either pageantry or the ability to speak in front of crowds?
For sure, when I was first beginning, I remember vividly my first pageant. I, for whatever reason, placed top 5. I was so shocked, and I didn't realize that I had an onstage question. Never practiced. I get on, stutter the entire time. And this is the main reason why I now practice on stage every single time, because it shows up in my interview and it shows up every once in a while. But as I've continued to do pageants and share about my story, I feel less ashamed about it because I don't want to hide who I am. I don't want to hide that I have my learning differences or I'm a little different when it comes to speaking, because I want when people hear my story to know that they can overcome it and they can be just as empowered if they just speak up and understand that they aren't alone wherever they are.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing is I always needed someone to tell me that it was okay. And it took me a long time to be comfortable. There's interviews always been my favorite part in pageants, but I've had so
Mhm.
many moments where there's been a word I didn't understand, or there was a moment one time I'll always remember because I came out of the interview room bawling my eyes out. It was truly cat got your tongue, and it was just like I could not get the word out. And I thought it was the end of the world. Like genuinely thought I was gonna just fall over and like dissipate. It was awful. But I know that sometimes it's hard to prepare for those types of situations. You know, you want to just go through potentially every possible question, and then you're going to get thrown the ball and you're like, okay,
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
doing this.
That's why I always try to remember that we're all human, we're
Yeah,
all gonna make mistakes. It's like when people trip on stage, it happens. We
I
just
have
need to
tripped
like
on
get up
stage.
and move on.
I had my mom tie my dress up one time during prelims and finals because I tripped on my dress and I was so mad. But I mean,
Oh
it
my
is what it
god.
is. But everyone's human, and there's always going to be something going on. And I think that truly brings more like realism into pageantry and less of the
100%.
perfect robot type. But
Yes,
what
yes.
are some tools that you have learned over the years to help overcome these challenges, whether it be like, again, like the audiobooks or having to rewrite notes? What has worked best for you?
So, I have found for me breathing and taking a second before I speak so that my stutter doesn't come out, I think, at a million miles an hour, and it's most pronounced when I'm excited or I'm nervous. Audiobooks is incredibly helpful because hearing something and having someone work it out in front of me has always been just like a visual help. And definitely typing. As I said, with my dysgraphia, I can't read anything I write, no matter if I write it once or a million times. And it just has never made sense to me that I go and write out something if I can't even understand what I'm writing. So, typing and working out problems has been the most beneficial to me when learning and exceeding in the classroom.
Yeah. I've done that too. I had note takers, but sadly at A&M, unlike at Lone Star, they paid people to be note takers. At A&M, it's just voluntary, and so sometimes I had classes where I didn't have anything. But what I would do is I would go home and I would physically rewrite all of the slides. Like I would do my best to try and get some in class, but the whole like chicken scratch writing slow and having to look down, look up, I'm like, I missed 4 slides. Like this dude went so
Exactly.
fast. Luckily, I had a lot of my poultry teachers because I was a poultry science major. Because they were smaller classes, they didn't mind sending me notes ahead of time, asking others in the class if they would be a note taker for someone in the class, asking others like if they wouldn't mind helping me study, things like that. In the bigger classes, that was definitely harder, but for the most part, for my mind, having to like rewrite something after I've already learned it, or even writing it before I go into class, learning it, and then going back over it at home, that worked a lot of the times as well. But okay, last question. Knowing your platform and you wanting to give voice to girls who are somewhat scared to speak up, what do you have to say for them to be able to own their differences instead of being scared of them?
My main thing is that we're all struggling with something, whether it's physical, mental, or just behind the scenes in our own lives, we should never be ashamed of who we are and what we believe in. And also, if you're struggling with something like a learning difference, sitting in the back of the classroom will never help you. Speaking up and telling people what you need and how you need it is the best thing you can ever do for yourself. Be a little selfish, because if it means that you will succeed, then that's all that matters.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. I loved coming on here.